So, you read that your egg quality might be affecting your chances of getting pregnant and staying pregnant. So naturally, you research ways to improve it. And just a simple Google search will get you a list of supplements: CoQ10, antioxidants, prenatal vitamins, and mitochondrial supplements. The message is usually the same. Take these supplements and your egg quality will improve. But egg quality isn't determined by how many supplements you take. It reflects the health of the environment in which your eggs develop. And that environment is shaped by many different systems in your body. So instead of adding more supplements and hoping that they'll improve the quality of your eggs, the question I'm trying to help you answer is, which body systems actually determine egg quality in the first place? Because once you understand that, the conversation around fertility becomes much clearer. I'm Dr. Cindy, and my husband, Dr. Cody, and I are the doctors behind Fertility For Two. We help couples get pregnant naturally. We're both naturopathic doctors and acupuncturists, and our goal is to talk openly and honestly about fertility and the process of trying to conceive. Now, before we get into what actually improves your egg quality, it's important to understand how eggs develop, because the egg that you ovulated this month didn't appear yesterday. It's been in development in your ovary for several months, and during that time, it's heavily influenced by the environment surrounding it. In other words, the overall state of your body, physically, mentally, and emotionally, all have an impact on your eggs. Have you had a stressful few months? Did you just have food poisoning? Do you have unmanaged thyroid disease? All of it matters. I'm the type of person that prefers bad news first. So here it is. There is no magic supplement that will improve your egg quality overnight. But here's the good news. With a clear plan and consistent action, the quality of your eggs can improve drastically in the next 3 months, especially when we identify and address the underlying systems that may not be functioning well. And if you're trying to figure out what might actually be affecting your egg quality, that's exactly what we help couples do. We investigate inside our Fertility For Two program because egg quality is really a reflection of overall health. And that's a very different way of thinking about fertility, isn't it? Let's start at the very beginning of egg development. Every woman is born with all the eggs she will ever have. Those eggs are suspended in development, and they are housed inside of structures called follicles. Each month, hormone signals from the brain stimulate a group of these follicles to begin developing. Most of those follicles stop growing partway through the process, but typically, one follicle becomes dominant and eventually releases an egg. During the weeks leading up to ovulation, the dominant egg undergoes a complex process of maturation. This requires a massive amount of energy in order to organize chromosomes and prepare for cell division if that egg is fertilized. Energy is created by mitochondria in the form of ATP. Mitochondria are like little batteries inside the cells. In fact, egg cells contain some of the highest concentrations of mitochondria in the entire human body. The embryo relies almost entirely on the mitochondria that comes from the egg. Sperm mitochondria are typically not passed on. That means the egg must provide all the energy required for early embryo development. So, if mitochondrial function is subpar, the egg may struggle to mature properly, or the embryo may have difficulty developing after fertilization. Now, mitochondrial efficiency naturally declines over time. However, its function is heavily influenced by the metabolic health of the body. So this is the first major factor we'll talk about that actually improves egg quality. That's metabolic health. The ovaries are extremely sensitive to metabolic signals. These signals come from blood sugar balance, insulin balance, inflammation, energy availability, nutrient status, and stress. All of these factors influence ovarian function and therefore influence egg quality. When insulin levels are chronically elevated or your blood sugar is spiking all day, hormone signaling inside of the ovaries can be disrupted. We see this very clearly in insulin-resistant PCOS. However, metabolic health influences egg development even in women who do not have PCOS. The egg relies on a steady supply of energy and nutrients. When metabolic function is compromised, the environment surrounding the egg changes. This is why lifestyle factors like diet, movement, sleep, and metabolic health play such an important role in fertility. Now, the good news is that metabolic health is something you can actively support, and stabilizing blood sugar is one of the biggest pieces to the puzzle. That means eating real whole foods at mealtimes instead of constantly grazing all day. Prioritizing proteins, healthy fats, and carbohydrates. Try to keep a consistent routine of eating around the same time each day so your circadian rhythm has a chance to regulate. Movement also plays an important role. Regular physical activity improves insulin sensitivity, and that helps the body regulate glucose more effectively. Resistance training or Pilates a few times a week and a 10-minute walk just around the block once or twice a day is all that it takes. Sleep is another major factor because during sleep, the body regulates hormones. That influences metabolism, stress signaling, and cell repair. So get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep nightly to give your eggs some support. And finally, managing chronic stress really matters because when stress hormones stay elevated for long periods of time, they can interfere with metabolic signaling and reproductive hormones. I know, you hear it all the time. Reduce stress and everything will happen for you. But I promise, all it takes is micro habits that take your body off of the cortisol roller coaster. Something as small as restricting social media consumption can be so helpful. Add that in with a 10-minute walk around the block, and you've already established 2 egg health habits. When we have stable blood sugar, adequate nutrition, regular movement, good sleep, and lower chronic stress, the metabolic environment of the body improves, which gives your eggs the best environment to grow in. Now, earlier, we talked about how egg cells contain a large number of mitochondria and how early embryo development requires a large amount of energy because the embryo divides rapidly in the early days, and cell division relies heavily on mitochondrial energy. So mitochondrial function is a major determinant of egg quality, and several factors influence that. Age is one of them, but so are nutrient status, oxidative stress, metabolic health, and overall cellular function. One nutrient that often comes up in this discussion is coenzyme Q10, also known as CoQ10. CoQ10 plays a critical role in the electron transport chain inside of the mitochondria. That process is responsible for producing energy in the form of ATP. Because of this role, lots of research has been done to see if supporting mitochondrial function with CoQ10 could influence egg development. Some studies suggest that CoQ10 supplementation may improve ovarian response in certain contexts, particularly in women with diminished ovarian reserve. This highlights how important mitochondrial energy production is for egg maturation. CoQ10 is made in the liver and found in foods like fatty fish, organ meats, red meats, and small amounts in some vegetables. Another major factor that influences egg quality is inflammation. Inflammation is a normal part of the immune system, but when inflammation becomes chronic, it can disrupt many systems in the body. Chronic inflammation can interfere with hormone signaling and increase oxidative stress, both of which can alter ovarian environment and therefore influence egg development. Inflammation can be influenced by many factors we just talked about, including diet, sleep, stress, environmental exposures, and gut health. The biggest impact you can have on lowering inflammation is simply to not add any more of it to the equation. And by that, I mean reducing things that are known to cause inflammation in the first place. That includes smoking, excess alcohol, and a diet high in processed foods and sugar. Addressing just those areas alone can significantly lower the inflammatory load on the body. Regular movement is one of the most powerful ways to reduce inflammation over time. During a workout, inflammation briefly increases as the body responds to the stress of exercise. But with consistent movement, baseline inflammation actually declines, and this is when metabolic health improves. Even a short daily walk helps because muscle contraction during movement sends signals that improve metabolic health and helps to regulate inflammation. In terms of supplementation, omega-3 fatty acids are one group of nutrients that help to regulate inflammatory pathways. These fats also influence cell membrane structure and hormone signaling. Research has found that higher omega-3 intake is associated with improved reproductive outcomes in some populations. Foods such as salmon, sardines, and mackerel are rich sources of omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, so we've lightly covered inflammation, but that isn't the only challenge that faces a developing egg. Another major factor that influences egg quality is oxidative stress. Oxidative stress comes from accumulated reactive oxygen species. This is shortened ROS. This is a natural byproduct of energy production from the mitochondria. These ROS molecules have unpaired electrons, which makes them unstable, so they pull electrons from nearby structures to become stable again. Ultimately, this means they can damage cell structures when they accumulate in excess. And eggs are especially vulnerable to this type of damage because they have to protect their DNA as they mature and prepare for fertilization. So this is where antioxidants save the day because they neutralize these reactive oxygen species. Antioxidants, including vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, and glutathione, all support our cells against oxidative stress. But the goal is not to eliminate it entirely, because some oxidative signaling is actually necessary for normal processes. Ovulation is an example of this. It involves a controlled cascade of inflammatory and oxidative signaling that helps the follicle release an egg. So, we don't want oxidative stress to overwhelm the body's protective systems because that's when egg quality can suffer. Next on the list of factors that influence egg quality is hormone balance. Hormones from the brain signal to the ovaries when to begin the process of follicle development. And remember, eggs are housed inside of follicles, and many of these follicles are developed at once. As those follicles grow and mature, hormones help to coordinate each step, and eventually, hormones also determine which follicle will release an egg during ovulation. So, things that support these key hormones can ultimately help support egg quality. Vitamin D is one example. Low vitamin D levels have been associated with several reproductive disorders, including PCOS and ovarian dysfunction. Correcting vitamin D deficiency is often one of the simplest steps in fertility care. Vitamin D is found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, tuna, as well as egg yolks and liver. You can supplement by taking vitamin D or cod liver oil. Okay, now let's talk about the physical structure of the egg itself. Egg cells rely on healthy cell membranes during development because the membrane controls how the egg communicates with its surroundings, receives nutrients, and ultimately interacts with sperm during fertilization. Choline is an important nutrient involved in membrane structure and methylation pathways. It also plays an important role in fetal brain development. And despite its importance, many prenatal vitamins contain very little choline. So I always recommend that my clients take additional choline once they become pregnant. Some dietary sources of choline are eggs, liver, fatty fish, chickpeas, lentils, and sunflower seeds. Another factor that influences egg quality is your nutrient status. As a follicle grows, it draws nutrients directly from the bloodstream. Those nutrients become part of the follicular fluid, and that surrounds the developing egg, which means the overall nutritional status of your body directly influences egg quality. One nutrient that frequently appears in fertility research is iron. Iron is essential for oxygen transport and cellular metabolism, both of which are necessary for healthy energy production inside the cell. When iron levels are low, the body's ability to produce energy becomes compromised, and that can affect many tissues, including the ovaries. Ferritin is the body's iron trust fund. Low ferritin levels are surprisingly common in women, particularly in those with heavy menstrual cycles. So when iron deficiency is corrected, energy production improves, metabolic health improves, and the environment surrounding the egg can improve drastically. Folate is another nutrient that plays an important role in egg quality. Folate supports DNA synthesis and methylation pathways, both of which are critical in egg maturation and early embryo development. During this stage, the egg must accurately organize and replicate its genetic material. Without adequate folate, Cells struggle to copy DNA properly and to maintain stability of chromosomes. Folate is naturally found in foods like spinach, kale, chickpeas, avocado, eggs, and liver. Yes, folate can be taken as a supplement, but not all folate supplements are created equal. Make sure that you take active forms of folate and avoid inactive forms that can build up in your body. Here's a list of what active forms are labeled as. At this point, you might have noticed something important. None of the factors I've discussed so far involve a single supplement that magically improves egg quality. Instead, the takeaway is that egg quality reflects overall environment of the body, metabolic health, mitochondrial function, inflammation, oxidative stress, hormone signaling, and nutrient availability. These systems all interact, and when they are functioning well, the environment surrounding the egg improves, which increases the likelihood that eggs will mature properly. This is why fertility work should never be reduced to a list of supplements, because fertility is not a supplement problem. It's a health problem. And when couples come to work with us, this is exactly how we approach fertility. We look at the entire picture, we evaluate labs, we investigate metabolic and hormone function, and we assess nutrient status in both partners, because fertility is always a shared process. Many couples are told that everything looks normal. This often means that their most basic tests were normal, but fertility is complex, and sometimes the underlying issues lie in subtle metabolic and hormonal imbalances that haven't been investigated yet, which is why structured investigation matters so much, because guessing your way through supplements rarely solves the underlying issue. So if you and your partner have been trying to conceive and want a deeper investigation into your fertility, that's exactly what we do in the Fertility for Two program. We help you identify the factors influencing your fertility and build a structured plan to improve your chances of getting pregnant and staying pregnant. If you're ready for a clear fertility plan, you can apply to work with us in the link below. From our family to yours, have a fertile day.